to connect with them for any further insights. You are welcome to pose questions in the chat or raise your virtual hand. Otherwise, the Q&A session will be open after the presentation. So today we are fortunate to have someone who can deep dive into the topic, Dr. James Liddell, who is going to help us to discover how thriving individuals create thriving organizations where clarity fuels innovation, energy powers productivity, and well-being sustains long-term growth. I want to welcome Dr. James and now hand over to you, Dr. Liddell.
Thank you, Nokwanda. Mr. President, board members and guests, good morning, guten Morgen, and thank you for the opportunity to address you today. I just want to map my talk. So I will give a talk that will last about 45 minutes. During that time, I want to do a practical session on regulated breathing. And it's an exercise that you can implement in your workplace or at home. But I want you to walk away with something concrete that you can use anytime, anywhere. And afterwards, we will have a question session. I'm just going to open my screen now. Nokwanda, can you see the full screen?
Yes, I can see the full screen. You can proceed to the next one. Yes.
Yeah. Right, the business power of optimal health, physical, mental, nutritional, spiritual, and financial. That is our topic for today. Now, do you want to excel in life and in business, or do you want to live a life of moderation? I think we first have to look at the definition of optimal health before we deep dive into the topic. And optimal health encompasses the following: optimal mental health, optimal physical health, a diet complemented with high nutrient value, spiritual health, and financial health. The above should lead to a long, healthy lifespan with a low level of disease. And optimal health is about the balance in all those spheres of life. They are all equally important. And once you have balance, the wheels roll freely, and then that spontaneous inner combustion takes place in you as a human, and you live a life of abundance. And it's very much like a BMW. When it is well tuned, it is really sheer driving pleasure. I'm going to spend a lot of time this morning on optimal mental health, because for me, all these aspects are important, but optimal mental health is going to become a big issue in corporate by the year 2030. We look at statistics ahead, and when we get to 2030, mental health conditions will be the most expensive segment in the budget of companies and governments. So a lot of money will be spent on depression versus heart attacks versus HIV versus any other chronic diseases. So if we can act now, we can really prevent atomic bomb explosion by 2030. So let's talk about depression in the workplace. Depression is not just emotional. It is a cognitive and physical. It affects focus, memory, decision-making, energy, and resilience, directly impacting business performance and leadership effectiveness. Early detection is very important. Recognizing subtle signs in yourself or your employees like fatigue, reduced motivation, irritability, withdrawal, those allow timely intervention before productivity and well-being decline. Stress and depression are closely linked. Chronic stress is a major contributor to depression. Managing stress strategically can prevent depressive episodes and enhance mental clarity. Nutrition, exercise, and sleep are foundational. Psychologically supports the diet, regular physical activity, and quality sleep directly influences neurotransmitters related to mood regulation and cognitive function. Cognitive patterns matter. Negative self-talk, rumination, and perfectionism exacerbate depression. Cognitive behavioral strategies can reframe thinking, improving resilience and decision-making. Social and professional connection are protective. Maintaining meaningful relationships at work and in life buffers against depression, fostering engagement, collaboration, and innovation. Purpose and meaning as antidotes, aligning work and personal goals with intrinsic values reduces depressive tendencies and increase motivation, creativity, and satisfaction. Financial and organizational stresses count. Economic pressures and job insecurity are significant contributors to depression in business leaders and employees, highlighting the need for a holistic support structure. Depression can be transformed into growth with proper awareness, support, and strategies. Individuals can use periods of low mood as opportunities to re-evaluate priorities, increase self-awareness, and improve leadership and personal well-being. We cannot talk about mental health without referring to the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve in optimal mental health is very important. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the body. It travels from the medulla in the brain to the digestive system. The vagus nerve's function is to transmit information to and from the central nervous system regarding control of gastrointestinal, cardiovascular, and respiratory systems. The vagus nerve influences the following. Brain and emotional centers regulates mood, anxiety, and emotional calmness. Heart and circulation, it slows the heart rate, support heart rate variability, which is a key marker of stress resilience and autonomic balance. Lungs and breathing controls breathing rhythm and bronchial dilation and constriction. On the digestive tract, it stimulates stomach acid, peristalsis, and gut mobility, and also influences the gut microbiome. Those are the good bacteria that lives in your digestive tract through the gut-brain axis. Liver, pancreas, and immune system modulates insulin secretion and glucose balance. Throat, larynx, and ears involved in swallowing, vocal cord movement, and even the social engagement system, tone of voice, and facial expression. How will stress influence the vagus system? Chronic stress, prolonged stress activates the sympathetic nervous system, fight and flight, where you secrete adrenaline, noradrenaline, and cortisol, and inhibits vagal activity. A reduced vagal tone leads to an increased heart rate and also blood pressure problems, sluggish digestion, reflux, and irritable bowel syndrome, impaired immune system, and higher inflammation. So how does depression and anxiety influence the vagal system? A low vagal tone is often found in depression. Dysregulation of the vagus nerve can alter neurotransmitters, serotonin, the happy hormone, and GABA, and gut-brain signaling, and worsening mood disorders. Integrative support to enhance vagal nerve function. Heart-brain coherence, regulated breathing exercises, and at the end of this talk, I will do a practical session with you where I will teach you how to do this regulated breathing exercise. Meditation and mindfulness, singing, chanting and humming, cold water face immersion, swimming, or showers for healthy individuals. And I very specifically refer here also to healthy individuals because if you have cardiovascular problems and you jump into Dalebrook Pool here in Cape Town at 12 degrees Celsius, you might put yourself at risk for a heart attack. So there are two rules for healthy individuals and those that are less healthy. But jumping into a cold swimming pool or the sea, if you are healthy, can have enormous benefits enhancing vagal nerve function. Probiotics and gut-friendly diet. Movement and moderate exercise like walking, yoga, tai chi, and swimming, massage and acupuncture, positive social interaction, and also visualization in the morning and gratitude practices at the end of the day. How to transform stress into strategic advantage. Reframe stress as a performance catalyst. A little bit of stress is good for us because it keeps you on your toes and you're ready for action. If you have a real hasta mañana approach, that's not in line with productivity. Teach the brain to interpret stress as a sign of readiness and activation rather than danger. My body is preparing me to perform. This is a powerful shift that will improve focus and productivity. Understand the optimal stress zone. Eustress, good stress versus distress. Introduce the concept of eustress, a healthy, motivating stress that can boost alertness, innovation, and drive, while distinguishing it from burnout-inducing distresses. Leaders can intentionally keep teams in the optimal performance zone. Stress as feedback and not failure. Psychologically, stress signals that something needs to shift, be it workflow, boundaries, mindset, or expectations. Used strategically, it becomes an early warning system rather than a collapse point. Build psychological flexibility, a core of resilience. Those who adapt thoughts and actions under pressure perform better. Techniques such as acceptance and commitment therapy, we call it ACT, help individuals align stress with personal values and purposeful action. Activate the challenge response versus threat response. When stress is viewed as a challenge to overcome rather than a threat to survival, the body produces more DHEA, which is a resilience hormone, and less cortisol, and that leading to a better cognitive performance and decision-making. Convert stress into structured action, breaks trigger down into controllable steps. Action planning reduces psychological overwhelm and gives the brain a sense of control, transforming stress into a problem-solving mindset. Practice micro-recovery rituals. We call it a psychological reset. Strategic pauses. I think it's very important that we have frequent pauses throughout the day. So I motivate people to drink a lot of water. That will force them to get up every 45 minutes and go to the bathroom. But you cannot arrive at work and work non-stop until lunch, have a quick lunch, and then work non-stop until the end of your day. Because if you have these strategic pauses and you just have a little bit of a pause between every 45 minutes, you will go home and feel less fatigued. So strategic pauses, breath work, mental breaks, and movement help regulate the nervous system, allowing stress to be recycled into sustained high performance rather than depletion. Align stress with purpose and meaning. Existential planning. Psychology shows that stress tolerated for a meaningful goal is perceived more positively. When stress is continuously connected to growth, contribution, or legacy, it becomes fuel rather than friction. Now let's look at some brain exercises to ensure optimal mental health. So brain exercises will include the following: studying, reading, building puzzles, partaking in sport, playing a music instrument. The above will stimulate your brain and create new brain pathways. Now you can create new brain pathways until you drop basically dead. So partake in those, it will really help. Your concentration will improve and you will be more motivated. Number 2, regular cardiovascular exercise boosts the size of your hippocampus. That's an area in the brain, and that's involved in verbal memory and learning. If we look at 2 individuals, one that exercises on a regular basis and then a sedentary person, we can see there are vast differences. Your regular exerciser will definitely sleep better. 83% of them say that they have a good night's rest. When we look at average resting heart rate, we can see your active person's heart rate is much lower than your sedentary person. Oxygen uptake, much more effective in the regular exerciser than the sedentary person. And of course, it is logic that we know that people that are physically active will burn more calories. And of course, when you are active, you will live on average 4 years longer. And last but not least, of course, we know that if you are very active, you will perspire more. Number 3, brain boosting diet and supplements. A constant flow of vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids go a long way in creating a perfect functioning brain. Vitamins like folic acid, vitamin B6, trimethylglycine, and vitamin B12 help lower your homocysteine levels. Homocysteine is a very nice blood test that you can do where we put basically all the chronic diseases in a basket and we say, okay, you have a low risk for diabetes, depression, cardiovascular disease, and so forth. We also know now that if you lower your homocysteine levels, that you can cut down heart attacks with 70%. Of course, that's a level less than 6. So coconut oil, vitamin D, and good flora, also brain boosting. The best 5 foods for your brain: oily fish like salmon, blueberries, pumpkin seeds, avocados, and dark chocolate. Quality sleep. A rested brain has more benefits than you think. Aim for the optimum numbers of sleep, and that is 7 to 8 hours at night. And I watched a program this morning on Gaia, very specifically on people who prefer to sleep alone. And it is said that people who sleep alone, 86% of them at least can say that they sleep much better. So there is some validity in that too. Oversleep is also not good for us, but optimum sleep will help you making clearer decisions while increasing your creativity. Laughter therapy. Laughter triggers healthy effects in the body. It strengthens your immune system, boosts your energy, eliminates pain, and reduces stress. Other avenues for laughter include going to a comedy club, funny friends, or just watching a movie on Netflix or any other platform. Create these experiences to keep your brain happy and healthy. And we can see again that health benefits laughter is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, if you laugh a lot, you can even burn 50 calories. It can produce antibodies, relieves muscle tension, will lower your blood pressure, and it can even protect your heart. Number 6, meditation and heart-mouth coherence. Meditation and heart-mouth self-regulation practices will definitely significantly reduce stress in your body. For some people, physical exercise is a must to reduce stress. Take yoga for an example, which combines mental and physical exercise. Number 2, optimal physical health. Your ultimate goal, if you are overweight or have other health concerns, you should be exercising for 60 to 90 minutes every day. If you are a person of normal weight, you can exercise 45 minutes 4 times a week, and you will still recap the incredible health benefits of regular exercise. These are just a few benefits of physical health. It can reduce your cancer risk, slow the aging process in your body, boost your immune system, prevent heart disease, prevent osteoporosis and osteopenia, that's loss of calcium, reduce stress, anxiety, and depression, and of course, you will also burn fat. And there are many, 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 many other benefits, but I just decided to mention these today. It is important that you visit your doctor once a year. I mean, you'll take your card once a year for a service, but I think you also should pay your doctor a visit once a year. And you should have health goals and measure your goals. So get yourself a file, put in all your blood stats there, and become part of your health journey. You should have an ideal body weight, and I think it's a good thing if you weigh yourself once a week, just to make sure that you stay sort of more or less between your parameters. Body mass index, 18.5 to 24.9, and that's a ratio between your weight and your height. I add more value to waist-hip ratios, and that is basically the ratio between the circumference, the ratio between your hips and your waist. For men, 0.95, and for women, 0.80. Body fat percentage, a good percentage is 19 to 23.9. You need a little bit of fat on the body. If you are too thin and you have too less fat, you can get very cold, and it's also not good for your health. Blood pressure, keep it below 120/80. Homocysteine, less than 6. Glucose, less than 5.5. And cholesterol, I'm a little bit more liberal with cholesterol, less than 5.5. And remember your exercise goals, 4 to 6 times a week. Let's look at the optimal health diet. Start your day with hot lemon water and/or have a green juice. Eat your organic seeds and nuts, a heaped tablespoon per day, or 1 tablespoon of cold pressed olive oil or flax oil. Eat 2 to 3 fresh organic fruits a day. Eat 3 to 4 servings of organic grains per day, rice, millet, rye, oats or quinoa. Eat 5 servings of organic vegetables a day, watercress, broccoli, spinach, green beans, peas, carrots, sweet potato, and peppers. Drink good quality water, 1.5 to 2 liters a day. I prefer all water to go through a reverse osmosis system. The problem is that all these pharmaceutical drugs that people take, from hormones to cancer medication to blood pressure medication, land in our water table, and eventually you drink it again. And with reverse osmosis, I'm confident that most of those pharmaceutical drugs are removed from your water. I worry more about the pharmaceutical drugs in the water than the bacteria in the water. So to boil your water is definitely not going to take out the pharmaceutical drugs, and they will still be there. It might just kill some bacteria. Eat at least 50% raw food and organic fruit and vegetables. So if you have a salad every day and you have your fruits a day, then you are very close to a 50% raw food diet. Avoid burnt, fried, browned food, as well as excess animal fat. No white stuff, no sugar, no white flour, no processed food, no preservatives, and chemical additives. Watch out for all the colorants. No to little alcohol consumption, and definitely no alcohol if you have cancer, a mental health condition like stress and depression, or if you are pregnant. Eat organic beans and legumes daily. Tofu, soya, quinoa, and seed vegetables. Always have protein with each meal: cheese, yogurt, nuts, fish, chicken, red meat, or vegetarian protein like pea protein or whey protein or soya protein. Eat at least 1 to 3 meals a day. Intermittent fasting has become quite a trend nowadays, and I see that it is really beneficial for people who want to lose weight. But you must do what works for you. If you want to snack between meals, fruit and nuts is always a good idea. please consume hormone-free dairy products. So look for that RBST-free sticker on your dairy products, because you don't want to consume hormones in your dairy products that are not good for your prostate and your breasts, because that will increase your risk for cancer, because they present to the body like a phytoestrogen. Rotate your foods. Don't eat the same foods every day. Try your best to work on a 4-day rotation cycle, which means 4 different breakfasts, 4 different luncheons, and 4 different dinners. If you eat the same food repetitively, you'll come and visit me one day with food intolerances. Eat fish 2 to 3 times a week, and go for small fish because they contain less mercury. Limit your exposure to chemicals, herbicides, and pesticides. That's the stuff that they spray on your fruit and vegetables. And of course, it presents to the body as estrogens. And there again is your link to prostate cancer and breast cancer. Limit lead, cadmium, and mercury exposure. Eliminate all trans fats from your diet. Think of fast food, pastries, and biscuits. And when you buy food from your supermarket, please repack it from plastic containers into glass containers, and have your meal times as a family gathering around a table and talk to each other versus being on your devices. Well, and if your food looks like this, it is very appetizing and everyone wants to eat their fruit and vegetables. Spiritual health, gratitude. When you feel gratitude, you affirm that you live in a benevolent world. It recognizes the source of this goodness comes from outside yourself. People who are thankful for what they have cope better with stress, have more positive emotions, are less anxious, sleep better, and have better health. The sense of gratitude can be strengthened with practice. Ways to cultivate gratitude include the following: keeping a gratitude journal, prayer, meditation, writing thank you notes, and a nonverbal action like smiling and hugging. Forgiveness. Meet every person every day if it was the first time, because then you don't have baggage. Financial health. The Zen and art of financials. Healthy financials. Write down your financial goals. Be realistic. Remove emotions from financial discussions. Put a plan together to meet your goals. Develop a system for finances that works for both partners. Have monthly financial meetings. Less is more. And I want to emphasize this: less is more. It is very important. And have multiple streams of income so that you can buffer economical downswings. And my blueprint for optimal health. And I'm just going to recap on the most important aspects that I already mentioned to you. Very important to sleep 7 to 8 hours a night, or you're going to deep sleep, REM sleep. Meditation or mindfulness twice a day for 20 minutes. Heart-brain coherence daily for 15 minutes. Cold water, face immersion, showers and swimming for healthy people. Remember, laughter is medicine, and social contact is important for all of us. Number 2, optimal physical health: walking, yoga, tai chi, swimming, massage, and remember, 60 minutes daily if you are overweight every day, and 45 minutes 45 times a week if you have a normal weight. Optimal health diet. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to go organic. Start your own veggie garden, support your organic shop, but please go organic. Your nutrient value is at least 10 times more versus non-organic fruit and vegetables. A balanced organic diet that ensures a constant flow of vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids. We spoke about good quality water, 1.5 to 2 liters a day. Take good quality vitamins, minerals, and fatty acids daily, like the German manufactured Double Herd supplements. Spiritual health. Have an attitude of gratitude. Remember, forgiveness. Meet every person every day if it was the first time. And on financial health, remember less is more and have a plan and goals that are realistic. Now we're going to do a practical exercise on heart-brain coherence. Now, I just want to say a few words before we go into the exercise. And what is heart-brain coherence? It is the cooperative alignment between the brain and the heart so that they are in synchronicity. And what is the purpose of heart-brain coherence? To increase your resilience so that you have capacity to prepare for, recover from, and adapt in the face of stress, challenge, or adversity. What benefits do more resilience have for you? You have more energy when needed for physical, mental, and emotional challenges. Better self-regulation and better self-control in managing your challenges. Learning and applying energy-preserving skills can increase your energy reserves and thus increase resilience capacity. By getting enough sleep and stopping energy leaks, you can build and maintain your resilience. The thing is, heart-brain coherence is like jogging. You can't start with a 21K. You have to start slowly, building up to a 5, and then a 10 and a 15, and eventually a 21, and even the comrades if you want to. But the same applies for heart-brain coherence. The more you do this regulated breathing exercise, the better you will cope with your challenges like stress and depression and anxiety, and it's even good for the immune system. And just a few facts about the heart. You have two memory centers, your heart and the brain. Your heart sends more information to the brain than the other way around. The heart also secretes hormones. The heart produces an electromagnetic field that is 40 to 60 times stronger than the brain. And that field is 3 meters around your body. The frequency that is radiated is influenced by how you feel. If you feel angry or joyful, that is the energy that you will radiate, and people will feel it. Heart emotions create a positive field that attracts positivity, but negative heart emotions will obviously do the opposite. Now we are going to do a little heart-brain coherence exercise, and I want you to sit back. First, listen to me, and then we're going to do a 2-minute heart-brain coherence exercise. So let me get my timer here. So you are going to inhale through your nose, and you are going to exhale through your mouth. And what I normally do is I inhale for 4 counts through my nose, and I exhale for 8 to 10 counts through my mouth. Whilst I inhale, I say to myself continuously, inhale through the nose, inhale through the nose, inhale through the nose. And when I exhale, I say to myself constantly, exhale through the mouth, exhale through the mouth, exhale through the mouth. And in between, I say, put all your attention on the heart. Put all your attention on the heart. So when you breathe in, imagine how the air flows into the heart. And when you breathe out, imagine how the air flows out of the heart. And say those words continuously just to keep you focused, because otherwise you start thinking of your family and work problems and other stuff. And if you're not used to this kind of exercise, start with 5 minutes and build it up to 10 minutes. And I do 15 minutes of heart-brain coherence exercises every morning, 5 days a week. Weekends I take off, but I do it 5 days a week. So I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning because I have to do a lot of stuff to improve myself and my health. So I do a meditation for 20 minutes, and then I do a heart-brain coherence for 15 minutes, and then I listen to Gaia and I share it with my following, and then my day starts. So we're going to do a 2-minute exercise, and I want you to put all your attention on the heart. Put all your attention on the heart. Close your eyes so that you can't be distracted. Close your eyes and put all your attention on the heart. Now, inhale through the nose for about 4 counts. And say to yourself, whilst you breathe through the nose, inhale into the heart, inhale into the heart, or inhale through the nose, just to keep focused. And imagine how the air flows into the heart. And when you exhale, imagine how the air flows out of the heart. And let's just do this for 2 minutes. And you'll see how much calmer you feel after this 2-minute regulated breathing exercise. So inhale through the nose and continuously say to yourself, inhale through the nose, inhale through the nose, inhale through the nose. Or inhale through the heart, inhale through the heart, inhale through the heart. And when you start to exhale through the mouth, say to yourself, exhale through the heart, exhale through the heart, exhale through the heart. And in between, say to yourself, all my attention is on my heart. All my attention is on my heart. And I'm going to leave you in peace and quiet because I want you to do this exercise for another 1 minute. And you can stop now. So the thing is, with this exercise, you can do it anywhere, anytime. You can sit in a board meeting and you don't have to close your eyes, and you can start doing this regulated breathing exercise. And just visualize how the air flows into your heart and out of your heart. And that will balance your central nervous system, and you'll go from a sympathetic system into a parasympathetic system. So you balance the hormones, you move from stress and cortisol and adrenaline to DHEA and oxytocin, and it will really calm you down. They've done a study on 11,500 people over a period of 6 to 9 weeks that did this heart-brain regulated breathing exercise, and they found that focus improved with 24%, sleep improved with 30%, calmness improved with 38%, anxiety reduced with 46%, fatigue with 48%, and depression, my main concern for 2030, improved with 56% without drugs. Now, I've got fancy scientific equipment where if you come to my practice one day here in Tokai, Cape Town, I can put it on and we can measure and see how you are doing regarding that. My final message to you, optimal health is about balance, and all the components are equally important. So if you just focus on your work, or if you just focus on your sport and exercise, the wheel is not round, it's oval, and it will not roll freely. So all the components are equally important and carry the same weight. Sometimes things go out of balance, but have a plan to get things back into balance. I wish you optimal health and success. Thank you for attending the talk today. If you want to know more about what I do, lifestyleclinic.co.za, and if you want to attend one of my retreats one day, africaheartretreats.com, and I will send you an email during the week where you will have notes on stress, evaluate your stress, evaluate your depression or your mood, and I will send you some notes on heart-brain coherence. You are welcome to ask any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. James. So we're going to open up the Q&A. If you have any questions, you are more than welcome to raise your virtual hand and actually unmute yourself and ask a question, or you can post a question on the chat as well. The floor is open for questions. And
people are also welcome to ask questions via email. So when they receive my email and they have afterthoughts today, they can also reply on my email with questions, and I will reply in due course.
Absolutely. And I think from today, we now know that actually laughing is also beneficial to burn calories. We'll continue here at the chamber from the marketing department with the laughing. We have sessions of just laughing.
Laughter is medicine. Well, if there's no one that wants to ask a question, they're most probably welcome to tell us a joke. Or share experiences.
Yeah. I see. Was the mute button disabled and videos? Are you able to switch your videos on online?
I'm busy actually manually unmute, well, allowing mic. I'm not sure what happened here, that all the mics were disabled, but if you could give me a moment and I will allow the mic so you are able to unmute yourself should you wish.
We apologize for that. I just realized now that it was disabled.
I hope everyone heard what I said.
No, they heard. We could actually hear. It was just that they could not turn their mics on, I think.
Okay, they were muted.
Yes.
Okay, so everyone has the option now to unmute. And as Doctor has asked, it would be great if somebody could tell us a joke.
Yes, please.
So that we can laugh
a joke.
And burn the calories.
No questions. I can't believe it.
One of the takeaways, if I can just add, one of the takeaways actually from this session, how to transform stress into strategic advantage and also to convert that stress into structured action stood out, especially in the work environment as well, that actually, you know what, this energy called stress, you can really divert into something really meaningful. Thank you for that. Are there any questions? If not, like Dr. James said, he will say that he will share the 2 links, the questionnaire, and then you can get in contact with him directly on emails as well. So feel free to do that. But a special thank you to you, Dr. James, and also to all the participants for today's session. I just want to also mention that the views shared in this session, those of our member company and not for the chamber. And if you want to get in contact with our Marketing Competence Center, feel free to email us as well in collaboration. If you want to know or want to become a member, you can really reach us on members@germanchamber.co.za or on info as well. We are available. Dr. James, thank you so much for your time. I see there's one hand that is up. Ralph, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. If you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can
hear you.
I just wanted to say it was interesting to remind ourselves about things which we very often forget during the stress and daily routine we have. Though we know certain things which you mentioned, but we don't put them in place in our daily routine. So that was interesting. And reminding us about certain things.
Remember the small pauses. You can't work non-stop. Drink lots of water that you go to the bathroom every hour. At least then you have a little bit of a break. And you'll feel less tired when you get home.
We've got a hand up by Sten Chetty. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I wrote my question in the chat, but let me just come off mute. So thanks, Doc, for the session and the tips and the techniques. I think we're all trying our level best in the corporates in South Africa to drive health and well-being. Mental wellness has become the buzzword over the last few years, and we're trying our best to make programs and solutions available to our employees so that they can take advantage of it and take their health and well-being quite seriously. My question is on, since it's Movember, what's your views on the needle being moved since, the inception of Movember, and where are we now? Are we seeing any change? Because, I mean, to be honest, we're still seeing most of your suicide rates coming from men. We're seeing men not speaking about their health and well-being. Have you seen the needle move from your professional view? And, what are some of your views on driving this and some tips for us in corporates? I mean, we do as much as we can, but what's the most attractive thing to do so we get more uptake?
Thank you for the question. I think it's a very good and relevant question. From my side, I think early detection is key. So management and HR departments are the people that can really play a profound role in early detection. So early detection, and that's why I'm sending you 2 questionnaires, one on stress, one on depression, and fill in those questionnaires yourself and just evaluate where you are. But the management and specifically the HR departments must get more tools and more aware of how to identify these conditions in the workplace. And it must be less stigmatized. So often people that are depressed and stressed feel that if they bring the problem to the forefront, that there will be discrimination against them or whatever, So create an atmosphere where people are free to share how they feel in the workplace. But early detection is very important. And I can see that there's real awareness because I've been approached by Rotary and other service clubs to come and talk about mental health issues. So there's definitely more awareness. Can I see that people are already less depressed? That is a very difficult one. I cannot answer that. I still feel there's definitely more awareness. We are very much in the beginning of all the campaigns and stuff that I believe will make an impact on the long term. But when we get to 2030, that's when I will see what the outcome is going to be. Because what we still say is by 2030, depression is going to be the disease that's going to cost countries, businesses, governments the most money. It's going to be a huge expense on the health bill. I hope that answers your question, Stan.
Yes, it does, Doc. Maybe just a quick follow-up question that just struck me now. So you say in the next few years we'll see the change, and I'm quite positive that we will, because I think, as I said, many of the corporates are doing lots in this space to help. Do you think we'll see the change because of the emerging generations that are now coming into the workplace and into the world? Are Gen Zs thinking differently? Are they taking their well-being more seriously than the other generations? Do you see that the change will come out of there?
That is a very interesting question, because what we see amongst our young people today is that a lot of them don't drink alcohol. I mean, isn't that absolutely magnificent, because alcohol is a very negative factor in mental health disease. So there's definitely an awareness amongst the younger generations to live more healthily, not to consume alcohol or drugs whatsoever. So it's a different generation. They have other habits, more healthier habits than my generation had. So, I'm an eternal optimist. So I feel optimistic that things will improve. I don't know, the wine industry in Cape Town or the Western Cape is a big thing. I don't know how impressed they will be if our young generation is going to consume less alcohol. But, that's a story for another day. But I feel optimistic and I see change.
Thank you, Doc.
Are there any other questions? I think we don't have any questions on the chat. Should I then say we've exhausted the questions for this session, but also the communication will then follow, and then they'll further engage with you, Doc?
Thank you, Nokwanda, and I wish you all a beautiful day.
Thank you so much. Thanks everyone that have joined today, and have a lovely day further.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Wie macht
Bye.
man sowas mit?